At 36,000 feet above the ground, somewhere between New York and Los Angeles, the world changed forever for three strangers. It wasn't because of turbulence or some terrifying announcement from the cockpit. It was something much quieter, and yet far more powerful. A woman collapsed, slumping unconscious in the aisle, her crisp white blazer wrinkling beneath her as concerned murmurs rose from every row. Panic fluttered through the cabin like a shockwave. Flight attendants rushed forward. Someone screamed. And in the middle of it all, a single father rose from his seat, his daughter gripping his hand tightly, her eyes wide with fear. He didn't know the woman. He didn't know what had happened. But in that moment, he knew he had to act, not just for the stranger who'd fallen, but for the little girl watching everything unfold beside him. That one moment, driven by instinct and empathy, would alter the course of their lives forever. Backhand index pointing right if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unseen connections that change lives. Please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Corner. Your support keeps these powerful true stories alive. Alex Monroe never saw himself as a hero. He was just trying to make it through each day. A 38-year-old mechanic from Pittsburgh, he'd been raising his 9-year-old daughter, Emma, alone since his wife passed away 3 years ago in a tragic car accident. Life had been gray since then. Routine, heavy, quiet. Morning started with cereal and school drop-offs. Evenings ended with laundry, bills, and the ache of absence. Emma was the light that kept him going, her laughter the only music in a home that often felt too silent. But she was growing up fast, and he feared she was learning more about sadness than childhood should ever teach. When Alex booked the flight to Los Angeles, it wasn't for a vacation. It was for a job interview, a desperate shot at a better future. A friend had lined up a potential role at a large automotive design company out west, something that could shift their lives from just surviving to finally living again. He couldn't afford a hotel or to leave Emma behind, so he brought her along, hoping for the best and expecting very little. The flight had been uneventful, until it wasn't. The woman in first class had seemed perfectly composed. Blonde, poised, sharply dressed. She had the aura of someone important. Alex hadn't paid much attention to her, he was too busy helping Emma color in her activity book, trying to keep her occupied through the hours in the sky. But then came the gasp. A stewardess's alarmed voice. A soft thud. Alex looked up just in time to see the woman's body slumping sideways in her seat, then falling into the aisle like a puppet with its strings cut. People began murmuring. Some stood up, some just stared. Without thinking, Alex rose and gently pushed past the seats. Emma tugged at his hand, whispering, "Daddy," but he gave her a reassuring squeeze. He knelt beside the woman. Her face had gone pale, her pulse faint. A stewardess arrived, frazzled and fumbling. "Is there a doctor on board?" she called out. Silence answered. No one moved. Alex wasn't a doctor, but he knew CPR, and he knew that seconds mattered. He began chest compressions, methodically, calmly, counting under his breath. The cabin had fallen into a hush, all eyes on this unassuming man in a faded hoodie, fighting to save a stranger's life with his daughter watching from the side. After several tense minutes, minutes that felt like hours, the woman began to stir. Her eyes fluttered open. The stewardess gasped, and the cabin burst into relieved applause. Paramedics were called ahead for landing. The woman, still groggy, clutched Alex's wrist and mouthed a hoarse, "Thank you," before slipping back into a dazed rest. That might have been the end of the story. But it wasn't. When the plane landed in Los Angeles, the passengers filed out, many offering Alex nods of gratitude or quiet claps on the shoulder. He didn't think much of it. He gathered Emma's backpack, took her hand, and walked off the plane like anyone else. What he didn't know, couldn't have known, was that the woman he'd helped was Catherine Hale, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech company known for its innovations and its fiercely private founder. She had been en route to a critical investor meeting when a previously undiagnosed heart condition had nearly claimed her life. She'd survived because of him. 2 days later, as Alex sat nervously outside the interview room in a borrowed suit that didn't quite fit, he had no idea Catherine Hale was the one conducting the interviews. When she stepped into the room and saw his face, a soft smile spread across hers, not the cold, calculated kind reserved for boardrooms, but something warmer, deeply human. She paused. "You're the man from the plane," she said quietly. Alex stood, unsure whether to apologize or speak. But she simply motioned for him to sit. What followed wasn't a typical interview. She asked him about his life, about Emma, about loss and resilience and trying to do right by your child even when the world felt impossible. Alex spoke plainly, humbly, unaware that every word was unlocking something in Catherine she hadn't felt in years: empathy, purpose, clarity. She didn't hire him for the position he'd applied for. She offered him something better, a role on a new humanitarian tech initiative her company had been quietly developing. Something built around community outreach, design with purpose, and giving people like Alex a seat at the table. She said she wanted real people with real stories, not just degrees. Alex accepted, stunned and overwhelmed. The job paid well, came with housing assistance, and offered Emma a scholarship opportunity for one of the best private schools in LA. It was more than a second chance. It was a whole new beginning. Over the months that followed, Alex thrived. He brought his quiet brilliance and mechanical insight to the team, surprising even himself. Emma blossomed, surrounded by peers and teachers who encouraged her curiosity and imagination. Catherine stayed in touch, mentoring Alex from a distance and even inviting them both to private company events where Emma would run through the halls of towering glass offices as if they were her own kingdom. And then came the moment that brought it all full circle. At a charity gala hosted by Catherine's foundation, Alex was invited to speak. Nervously standing before a room of executives and philanthropists, he spoke not of profits or products, but of the power of presence. Of what it means to reach out when someone falls. Of how one moment of compassion, one choice to stand up instead of sit still, can alter the future in ways we can never predict. The room fell silent. Even Catherine wiped away a tear. Afterward, Emma tugged at her father's sleeve and whispered, "I'm proud of you, Daddy." And for the first time in a long time, Alex believed he was worthy of those words. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness is never wasted and that even broken paths can lead to beautiful places, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support keeps stories like this alive, and spreading. Speech balloon special request: tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were on that plane? Or has a stranger's kindness ever changed your life in ways you didn't expect? We'd love to hear your story.